Hello and welcome to another video of the Retro Gaming Blog. I'm here with Big Chris.
Hey, how's everyone?
Hello, Big Chris.
Hello, Big Chris.
Hello. So, for those who don't know, actually, because this is quite new, we do reviews and we do some interviews with industry types and stuff as well. But those are obviously going to look a little bit flashy because I'm going to have like intros and nice music. This is like literally just us talking about the games, stuff around the time the game's out, and just trying to play the game. And this is one game I've tried to play many times and failed.
I never played this game, but I did play the first one on the Spectrum, Ghost and Goblins.
Ghost and Goblins. No,
Yeah.
was it Ghost? Oh, it was
Ghost
Ghost and Goblins. Yes, it was. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the controller. We're playing this on the Wii Virtual Console, and we're using the classic controller. So it would be the Super Nintendo actual controller that we're using to play the game. So I'm going to hand you the controller, Chris, and start you up, ready to rock and roll.
Yes, I can't promise anything because
So yeah. So
it's not expecting me to complete it on my first life.
no. Well, I don't think
There's
even
a
I could.
princess with blue hair. There's a castle.
Skip to the end.
Skip to the end. The blue. Something tells me she's not going to be. No, she. Oh.
We're going back. There you go. Just skip that. Okay, so the game was originally released in 1988 in the arcades by Capcom, and it was about a year later it came to the Mega Drive and the Amiga. I had an Amiga. I loved the Amiga. Actually, my brother had an Amiga.
Brothers, I remember.
Yeah, I used to play it all the time. He used to go out with his friends, and I used to sneak in there and play Impossimo and stuff. But yeah, and Supercars and other great games. But it did come out in Japan and North America around '89. But it took about another year before it reached European shores. So 1990 it came out on the Mega Drive, and then this version, which was on the Super Nintendo, came out in '91. And rave reviews. It came to rave reviews. Yeah, it was hitting the 90s. Like Me Machines was like giving it 92. You had Megatech, Ace, Games Machine, Zap 64. Your Sinclair user, those magazines.
Sinclair user.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rated it really well. So it got really good, and it got awards as well and stuff. So this game was.
I think the Ghost and Goblins one did as well. I remember it being popular when I played it on the Spectrum, and it must have been a couple of years before this, 80s, in the late 80s.
And yes, indeed. Well, they're clearly designed to make you spend your money. So this game is hard. It's really difficult, and you're going to die. Oh, it's a baby again. What is this baby nonsense?
I don't know.
If anyone's out there, does anyone know what the baby thing is? Because we have no idea. I've never seen it. I played the arcade, and I never
Turn me into a baby.
Turn them into a baby. I think it's just like a kind of like a penalty for not being good enough or something.
You're rubbish at this game, so now you're a 12-month-old baby.
That's right. So this was released on what we would, if we would give it a generation time period, it would be the fourth generation of consoles, which was around between 87 and 98. So we had the Mega Drive, the SNES, you had the Wonder Mega, the TurboGrafx 16, you had your Mega CD, your 32X, Philips CDI, your Commodore CD-TV, and the rest of that malarkey.
Yeah. Well, so that lasted all of about a week, didn't it?
Yeah, with two terrible Zelda games as well. So it was, the Philips CDI was a bit of a failure. And I remember the remote. Oh, was the remote upright? I think it was like a TV remote with like a terrible joystick thing on it. And yeah, they were renowned for not working. So if you were ever to pick one up on eBay now, you probably would find one really cheap, and you'd get it home and it wouldn't work. Fact.
What's that?
Do
you pick up armour?
Yeah, you do. There's chests, and I'm sure you can get gold armour and green armour. Yeah. And
that was very really lucky.
I've noticed this is a bit laggy, isn't it? This one.
It does lag a bit.
I don't know if it's lagged on the Mega.
Whoa!
Oh dear, Chris, unlucky. I don't know if it's actually lagged on the Mega Drive or the SNES on the cartridge one. So, if anyone's watching this, do you remember if it did or didn't? Because this Virtual Console version does lag, and it's a bit annoying because it can put off your timings.
That really frustrates me. That's the reason why I just died. Not
because
I'm rubbish.
Horror games. This is kind of, would you class this as a horror game?
I guess this is the first of, in the 80s there was probably... I remember very few horror games on the Spectrum. I do remember Trapdoor.
That was on the 48K. Fantastic game. And you had, what was the other one? Ghostbusters, it was class. Activision did Ghostbusters.
Yeah. A couple of other horror games that I remember on the... do you remember the Fighting Fantasy books?
what is that where it says turn to page?
Turn to page 52. Your adventure ends
you were
here.
dead.
There was the Steve Jackson, Ian Livingstone adventure books. There were several games that were adapted from their books. There was Warlock and Firetop Mountain.
Okay. Well, and that was a game, was it?
It was a game, yeah, on the Spectrum. I believe there was another one as well, but I'm not sure. But very basic, running around, like a maze, being chased by different kind of monsters, things like that. But I don't remember that. I think you mentioned
Aliens was on the Specky as well, wasn't it?
Specky, yeah. You mentioned
128k. That is that one. That was on that.
Splatterhouse. You mentioned.
Oh, Splatterhouse. Yeah, that was a Sega IP, I think. That was ripped off straight from Friday the 13th. That game, but Splatterhouse was quite a famous series. I think they did a couple, and that was on the Mega Drive. And also on the Mega Drive was Ghostbusters as well, a version of that, which I loved.
Spectrum.
And I had this, like I say, I remember actually recording the music because I love the music on this game. Even then, for me to want to record music from a game is a bit silly.
I've got a hand with the basketballs up there.
So
some of those dogs on Resident Evil, those mutated dogs.
Oh yeah, the dogs. The Doberman's famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Resident Evil, as you know.
Yeah, Resident Evil. Obviously that comes, a considerable few years later than this.
Oh yeah, that was 97 or 96. It was. And do you know? Let me just get this straight. I only liked the first two Resident Evils. I wasn't a big fan of the third.
Oh, I was a big fan of the third. That was the one that Nemesis. That was the one that got me into the game, along with Silent Hill.
Oh, you love Silent Hill.
I was a big Silent Hill fan. It was a game. It was the first game in. I think it was the first game ever to really scare me. Actually, Silent Hill, and I was probably 16, 17.
I remember Silent Hill was a bit freaky. It didn't scare me as. Even Resident Evil wasn't really that scary. It kind of did make you jump.
Yeah, so I didn't find Resident Evil scary. I found it a great action game. That was the one that kind of got me back into gaming again, I guess.
Yeah.
And then there was the Xbox after that.
Oh, because like we were saying before, you love the Xbox. Well, you didn't love it.
I must admit, I've become more Nintendo now. I've gone off from the sort of first-person Call of Duties and let's kick some ass kind of games. They tend to be a bit boring, and a lot of those are on the Xbox, aren't they? So.
But you had your favourite game on there, wasn't it? Alan Wake?
Alan Wake, Alan Wake for the Xbox. That was, again, a sort of game that reminded me of the creepiness of Silent Hill. But also, I liked the way it was, it took on episodes.
Yeah.
Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, Episode 4. It was like a TV series you played.
Yeah.
But as for horror, that was had some genuine sort of thrills and spills in it.
Yeah.
Well, it was like this though.
Something
like this, back in the 80s there weren't.
Can I go, Chris?
Yeah, I'll have another go. Back in the 80s there weren't that many horror games around.
I've got to feed the cat. I better feed the cat because he's meowing.
Cat's meowing. I'll kill some zombies while you kill the cat. I didn't mean that. Okay, yeah, these sort of games, I remember as a kid, I remember them being very difficult. And nothing's changed, they're still very difficult.
There you go, buddy.
She's being fed while I'm killing the zombies. Well, I suppose you could say that, something like Michael Jackson's Thriller. Mainstream brought zombies to the mainstream, didn't it?
Well, George Romero, did he do the first zombie film? He did Night of the Living Dead, right? That was the first zombie.
Yes, he did. But I wouldn't say that they were the mainstream then. I would say that as soon as they appeared on a pop performer, I guess that's when they became commercial.
Well, I always heard that the George Romero films were like a commentary on social. Like the kind of the middle class and all that, and people's attitudes. And
Dawn of the Dead, wasn't it? Dawn of the Dead.
I love Dawn of the Dead, and I actually love the third one, Day of the Dead. I thought Day of the Dead was fantastic.
Day of the Dead, yeah.
Day of the Dead was really good. Actually, talking about zombies, I guess The Last of Us kind of falls into that category, trying to put a spin on the whole zombie thing. And I thought The Last of Us was a good game. You know, I have to say. I mean, a lot of people loved it, and I think it was overlauded for what it was, because it was literally press go and you go through the story, and it plays itself out for you, and it's the story that draws you in. But The Last of Us, I think, is a real nice kind of lead on to the next gen, like the next generation of consoles. I hate that buzzword at the minute, the next gen. But PlayStation 4, Xbox One era, PCs of course as well.
The PC. Oh, I remember playing. It was a Clive Barker. Was it called Underworld? Was it called Underworld?
No, I don't remember Underworld.
No, it was the Clive Barker game on the PC in 2001. That was a very good horror game. So I couldn't Google that.
Okay. Well, yeah. So the next generation, I hate that, but they're lending themselves now to a point where games and movies are going to come together, and the entertainment factor is going to really kind of. You're going to get basically. The way I see it is, you're going to see A-list actors kind of take that medium seriously, because games have always, well, I say always, for the past few years anyway, made more money than any box office. So
yes.
There we go.
Undying, that was it.
Undying, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
That year that was considerably later than this.
I also remember playing Bloodlines, The Masquerade, which was a bit later on. That was cat sneezing. Oh, no.
Was that your cat sneezing?
Yeah, he sneezes a lot.
That was a great sneeze.
It's a good sneeze. So yeah, Undying. I never played it again. But my favourite horror games was I love the Resident Evil series. Well, 1 and 2 particularly.
Did you play?
And Code Veronica on the Dreamcast is amazing.
Did you play Silent Hill, the second one as well?
Yes, I did. That was on the PS2.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with the second one.
Yeah, it was alright. I mean, I think the design again is pretty strong.
I like the way these zombies give up and they go back in the ground. It's like, alright, brains. Oh, sod this, I'm going back to sleep.
Do zombies sleep? Aren't they already sleeping because they're dead?
Or do they dig themselves a grave again?
Or do you just call it forever sleep?
I like the background. I like the kind of like the trees in the background.
Oh, that's frustrating. I love the music, I have to say. I can't remember the composer's name. But
the composer of this?
Yeah, this music was really well received. I stood up at the wrong time. The lag is killing me on this. Oh no, it's my bad gameplay.
Look how far you could have gone, that map says.
It's saying, look how far you could go. Look how many 10p's it will cost you to get all the way to the end.
Of course, yeah, back in the day, this was, the arcade game, you'd be popping your 10p pieces into the slot every 5 seconds.
You'd pop in your milkshake money in there, that's for sure.
You certainly would, yeah. I remember several games I used to play on the arcade. There were a game called Wardner, which was like a wizard running around a house. Very, very much like a sort of like a Harry Potter.
It's like Magician Lord, that was another one. The lag. Please tell us, guys, if this lag's supposed to be normal.
Surely. Oh, jeez, that was amazing.
That wasn't. My arcade games, I used to play one called Poseidon or Submarine something. It was like a submarine.
What was that like? Poseidon?
It was like a side-scrolling shoot 'em up kind of thing in a submarine, and it was. I used to love it. And that's right. I used to play that tank game. It was like yellow lines everywhere. It was like 3D. You had 2 things. I used to play the Star Wars one a lot. I used to play the WWF one, The Simpsons. This is going on a bit later now. Street Fighter 2, of course. I loved that. Mortal Kombat.
Operation Wolf with the gun.
Michael Jackson Moonwalker.
Outrun. That was
Outrun, yes. And Afterburn and G-Lock and all them lot. And the other one that I used to play a lot was Turtles. Turtles was one of my favourite arcade machines. And I knew a cheat for that, which I learnt in Mean Machines. My favourite gaming magazine of the year.
I know. How much has that changed nowadays? Kids nowadays, everyone. I mean, out there's probably who's listening to this has got an Xbox or a PlayStation.
Yeah, well, I would be surprised if people don't arcades anymore. I don't think the arcades. I think arcades have just become fruit machines.
Fruit machine. That's quite sad, isn't it? Yeah. At one point, the industry revolved around how popular your game was in the arcade.
Well, just look
how much money it made, how many 10p's it took.
I tell you what sums it all up perfectly is Wreck-It Ralph, which is an amazing Pixar movie, or Disney movie. I think it's one of the same. I think Pixar did it. I'm not sure. But Wreck-It Ralph kind of takes you right back to how the arcades were and basically where it's gone, which is Call of Duty, Halo, you sat in your living room. I mean, now it's getting even different because when we were playing games kind of this gen, I remember I had all my mates over, I had a multi-tap adapter for the Super Nintendo, 4 of us playing Bomberman, having a laugh. Kind of
turn me to a baby again.
Oh, you're turning into the baby all the time.
Why did it just do that to me?
Because it likes you being a baby. Yeah, I know, big baby Chris. But, so, that kind of, in 96, 97 wasn't it? I think that was the N64. And then when I had the N64, my mates were over playing 4-player GoldenEye, drinking at this point because I was then old enough to drink. And that kind of culture with games and having your friends around is kind of there, but is now moved more on. You sat on your own and you're online playing a game of Call of Duty or something like that.
Yes.
And I miss. I think I like Nintendo and I love Nintendo for their offline stuff. It frustrates me that the stuff isn't as online as it could be, but in some ways I like the fact that you need people over there to interact with, and the games are more fun. But we're older now and we just don't get time to have everyone over for a party.
No, that's very true. That's very true. I guess it's moved on. As the industry is just how I sometimes think how quick the games industry has evolved.
Well, it's getting to the point where they're trying to make money because the games are costing so much to produce and make that the risks become smaller, which kind of constricts the creativity and the originality of the game. And this has kind of been bandied about now in all the magazines and on the internet, and this has now become a hot topic. But it was something that was happening for the last 3 or 4 years, really. You could sort of see it escalating. And, the fact of the matter is you just need to make great games.
You do. You
don't need 50 million, unless you're making Grand Theft Auto 5. They already made their profit
Somebody
back.
got stabbed.
I heard. To
crazy.
Have the game stolen.
Imagine if that was going on back then, when you were picking up.
Well, people did get. I remember when I had my Super Nintendo with Street Fighter 2 pack, people were looking at you like, I want that, because it was so sought after. But that game, Grand Theft Auto, actually made its money back in the pre-orders. They knew they'd made money at that point, and not many game companies can do that. But
imagine a platform Grand Theft Auto. Well, there wasn't the original Grand Theft Auto. Obviously not a platform game, but it looked completely different to what it is now.
It was kind of a top-down, and it was done by a company called DMA Design.
Right.
And they always had that intro to their logo, which was DMA Design Game. It sounds a bit like EA, doesn't it?
EA.
It's in the game, but DMA were top company.
First
Blood
Grand
Money.
Theft Auto looked like a Michael Mann film, filming from above the skyscraper.
GTA was still fun. The original was still good. I think they just needed to evolve the series as they got onto the kind of the next selection of consoles, and 3D was popular, so they thought, hey, let's make it 3D.
Let's make it 3D. Why not? That's a bit like Hollywood now. Why not make that 3D?
Yeah, it is.
Every idea. I've got this idea.
Let's make it 3D.
Before you say anything else, let's make it 3D.
Like Titanic 3D, which I never would have watched in 2D really, but
There's the lag. I noticed it there.
the lag is bad. Oh no!
You get turned into a baby. Ha ha! There you go.
Oh, dead. It's funny how my bones suddenly grow as I die.
So I guess around this time, games weren't reflecting the cinema. They weren't people weren't looking at.
Well, I think they kind of at this time when game designers were making games, they were thinking, right, we've got these limitations. We need to make money because it's an arcade machine. How can we make them pump quarters in? And what's popular? And at this time, it was Michael Jackson's Thriller. So the way they're hanging their arms out was very thrillery, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, there was. I remember certain games that came out that were after a movie. Something like Star Wars, for instance, the Star Wars game, the very first Star Wars game. Did you play that in the arcade?
Yeah. That was.
That was a good game.
I played more actually. I think Atari did.
And you sat in. It was one of those ones that you sit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the yellow lines in the trenches.
That was obviously cashing in on a movie. But I think very few games back then have become a movie or anything, have they? You know, like things like Resident Evil's made, and then obviously there's a movie, and things like Silent Hill, and then there's a movie. You know, things like there isn't a movie.
You say that, I have to admit, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, but I enjoyed. Was it Christophe Legans's Silent Hill movie? I actually thought he did a good job, and it wasn't stellar stuff, but it was still, you could sit there and enjoy it. Unlike the worst director in the world, who I hate with a passion. I say hate is a strong word.
Talking about Paul Anderson.
Yeah, he's that guy. Get out of Hollywood, son. He made one really good. He made one amazing film, and then started trying to do loads of computer game stuff. And it went wrong. And Resident Evil, I can't understand people who say I like Resident Evil. It's a really good movie. And I'm like, what? Really? Come on, play the games. They're better. That's different mediums for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember. The first Resident Evil game, was that the one that was set entirely in the mansion?
Yeah, it was, and it had an FMV intro because it was again at the time when computer games didn't know whether they were going to be FMV movies or. Oh no, I'm terrible at this. I really suck. I'm sorry for people who are watching this. I suck at this game. I'm going to pass it over to Big Chris. So. Yeah, I mean, FMV was kind of, again, Mega CD was geared to be an FMV machine, and it's Philips CDI. I had lots of video stuff in the 3DO, which I love the 3DO, big fan of the 3DO, and it was odd to think now that a game would have any film stuff put in it, unless it was in a capacity where it would be on a big screen. Like I remember, what did they do with a film? Oh, that was it. It was in WALL-E. Have you seen WALL-E?
No, I haven't.
Amazing Pixar film. I keep saying the word amazing a lot, I'm sorry. But WALL-E is one of my favourite movies of all time. Almost like a silent movie as it opens and then. But the strange thing with that movie was that part way through, all the kind of informational ads that were on the screens, they're all actual film. It's like FMV actors, saying, you're on this trip and doing this and that. And I kind of think in that respect, games would incorporate film footage, or if it was like over a communications thing, but I kind of see the point where it's now they're just going to scan the models like they did with LA Noire.
Okay. Yeah, LA Noire.
And it'll be like that, so you'll see the performance coming through, and there will be no need to use video.
God, there's a game that I did love playing.
LA Noire, yeah. That was
Alan Wake.
And Alan Wake. You love Alan Wake so much. I didn't get to play it all that much, to be honest. I don't know if you class Heart of Darkness as a horror, but it was kind of like an animation thing. But I like that game as well. That was
what were the horror films around at the
time? We had Child's Play.
Child's Play.
The Blob. The Blob was written by Frank Darabont of Shawshank Redemption, and he also wrote the Indiana Jones script, didn't he? But then it was rejected by George Lucas, and then a terrible one was written in its place with Aliens, which was.
I'm useless at this game as well. Yeah. Aliens, yeah.
But Darabont also did The Mist and Carpenter made They Live. That was out.
They Live.
Yeah, They Live, which was an amazing film. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I think, was another one. Yeah, it was. That was '88. And do you remember that film?
I do remember that one. Yes, Killer Clowns was a. One of those sort of B-movie classics, wasn't it?
It was almost like it was
a Charles Band film. Do you know Charles Band?
I can't remember. But is that why? Oh, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. Critters, the Critters movies. It was that kind of
Critters, yeah.
That kind of vibe to it, But Killer Clowns was classic. I mean, it had some amazing scenes. There was one with a girl. The most chilling scene in that film, actually, which genuinely is chilling because the rest is quite laughable, is when there's a girl eating at the table with her parents and her family, and then you see the clown outside, and she's all like, "Oh, it's a nice clown," and he beckons her from the table, and as she walks towards him, the camera's tracking back, and as it kind of whip pans and then moves around the back of the clown, you see he's holding this really quite hefty hammer, and you see this young girl and you think he's just going to bash her brains in, but as she reaches for the handle and is about to get through there, her father pulls her back to the table. But it was a good movie. I remember it being quite funny.
Yeah, they were sort of low budget, weren't they, at that time?
Yeah,
I remember Larry Cohen as well was a big director in the 80s, wasn't he, around that time? He was making, it was like Hugh the Winged Serpent.
Oh, I remember that. I watched that with my sister, actually, because she rented it. And I just remember that guy with the glasses and the beard when it's out in the city ripping people up.
It is, yeah.
And you see the blood pouring on his face.
It starts off with the guy who's cleaning the windows of a skyscraper, and then there's a woman kind of getting changed inside the apartment, and he's sort of there cleaning the windows, and then suddenly she looks around again and sees him there with like no head, and swoops down and kind of bites his head off.
Oh, I'm terrible.
Yeah, Maniac Cop was a film that I think was a Larry Cohen film.
Oh yeah, that was like Michael Myers with a cop uniform.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, just a guy running around dressed as a cop.
I just remember the bit where
I think the tagline of that film was "You have the right to remain silent forever."
Yeah, that's a brilliant tagline.
That is a great tagline.
It's just like it's like almost like a Sun pundit. Oh wow. So,
yeah, big on horror, playing horror games, big on this, big on Ghosts and Goblins and sort of these platformer games.
Ready? Yeah, no, this is. I mean,
Haunted House. I had a game, one of these LCD games, probably like maybe a little bit before your time, Ash. Maybe it was back 1982, 83.
Well, I would have been 3 years old, so definitely.
I had the Nintendo Donkey Kong double screen LCD.
Oh, Game & Watch, yeah.
I also had a Grandstand Haunted House, which was this little, simple game where you try and run through the house and not get caught by a mummy and not get caught by a vampire. Again, that was a game. I think it was called Haunted House, but.
Well, I remember a really great horror game actually. 2 great horror games in some respect. On the 3DO, I'm just going to be on the 3DO because probably half of you listening to this don't even know what 3DO is. It is one of the greatest consoles ever made by Trip Hawkins, who used to be the chairman of. Well, it wasn't made by him, but he was like bringing it forward. He was the chairman of EA. He created EA when it was good, and it was British as well at that time. But EA, yeah. Wow. And then he sold it, and then it's gone to the dogs. It's owned by many different. It's like chairman. It's like people have to do a vote because there's so many people that own it.
Mad, look at the faces behind.
Look at the lag. Look at the lag.
It's kind of creepy.
It's good. But yeah, 2 great games on 3DO. I'll name them. Killing Time was one, which kind of mixed FMV with 3D, and the other one was Escape from Monster Manor, I think.
Do you remember the adventure books?
Oh yeah, Ian Livingstone.
They were turn to page 56. Your adventure ends here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There were a couple of adaptations of their books as a computer game for the Spectrum, I remember, and there was a couple of horror games that they brought out. I remember The Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Yeah. Which was a fantasy platform, not really a platform game. Running around a maze, if I remember right, being chased by monsters.
That's.
Did we mention the Clive Barker? Or didn't we mention the Clive Barker?
Oh, The Undying, or The Undying, yeah. I mean, there's loads of really good games actually. Like the Condemned was one. I never played Condemned, but that was a Sega published game.
Condemned. Yes, that's the way you start off, and there's a dead body, isn't there?
Oh, I just remember there's something about a bear that charges through rooms, and it's. We'll have to leave this and just.
Wow.
Kind of sum up our thoughts. I remember this game being great. And it does hold up. It is a game that will require your attention, and it will require repeated playthroughs to learn the layout and the timings. This version's laggy as hell. I don't know if that's just a Wii U Virtual Console thing, or if that was like that on the Mega Drive and the SNES. Well, I remember the Mega Drive wasn't like that. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But if you guys out there have played it and know a fact to that, please let us know, because I would like to know personally.
Yes, definitely.
And so.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know what you think of what you've seen. Because I think as for a horror platform game, it holds up pretty well. It's nice and colourful. I know that the graphics are still pretty colourful. I quite like the art design in it a lot. I think it's like it holds up.
The music.
I'd love to have got to this point.
I'd love to have got. I would have absolutely, been ecstatic.
Give it another 3 or 4 days, we'll possibly get there.
We will get there one day. Oh, look, there's a ghost finally. Is this the first one? Yeah, no. Oh god, it looks difficult.
So you're going down on a sinking ship that has.
So next time we'll probably be playing Pilot Wings, which is a game I'm very good at. So don't worry, you will see some progress in that. And then we will continue the conversation then. But subscribe, like us on Twitter and all that. Follow us on Twitter, like the page, and hopefully we can expand this. We will be doing some reviews, and we'll be speaking to some industry people soon. Until then.
So then, take care.